The heavy stone slab groaned, a sound of grinding rock that echoed against the canyon walls. It slid into place with a final, jarring thud. The sliver of daylight that had cut through the opening vanished, leaving only the smell of wet earth and stale, stagnant air. Daniel stood in the center of the chamber. He reached out, his palms pressing against the cold, jagged surface of the wall. It was immovable, solid, a tomb built of granite. He turned back toward the center of the pit, his boots scraping against the uneven floor. The silence was heavy, pressing against his eardrums. Then, the air shifted. A low, rhythmic, rasping sound emerged from the darkness. It was the sound of breath, deep and wet. Daniel held his own breath, his muscles tightening. From the far corner, a pair of amber eyes ignited, glowing with a predatory intensity. Then another pair opened to his left, then a third. Within seconds, 6 pairs of eyes hung in the void, unblinking. Daniel did not retreat. He stood his ground as the shadows began to shift. The lions emerged from the gloom, their forms massive and fluid. They moved with a predatory grace, paws padding silently across the jagged stone floor. Daniel did not retreat. He walked to the center of the den and knelt, placing his hands together. He bowed his head, closing his eyes to the encroaching circle. The largest of the beasts broke from the pack, its movements heavy and deliberate. It circled him, the scent of wild animal musk filling the small space. The lion stopped, its head lowering until it was inches from Daniel's shoulder. It inhaled sharply, a wet, rattling sound that signaled the start of the hunt. Then, the beast let out a low, vibrating growl. The sound was deep enough to rattle the very stones of the pit, a tremor that traveled through the floor and into Daniel's knees. He did not flinch. He remained perfectly motionless, his lips moving in silent, rhythmic prayer. The other lions paced behind him, their shadows dancing against the walls. The growl intensified, turning into a guttural rumble that filled the chamber. Yet Daniel remained anchored in his position, his focus entirely on the words he whispered into the dark. The growling reached a crescendo, a wall of sound that seemed to vibrate the very marrow of the stone. Daniel kept his eyes closed, his hands pressed together, waiting for the final strike. Then, the air above him split. A brilliant, concentrated shaft of golden light punched through the narrow opening in the ceiling. It did not flicker. It cut through the darkness like a physical blade, striking the floor with enough intensity to make the dust motes dance in frantic, swirling patterns. The light descended, bathing the center of the pit in a warm, heavy radiance. The effect was instantaneous. The lead lion, mid-snarl, stopped. Its head jerked upward, tracking the beam. A guttural rumble in his throat died, replaced by a sharp, sudden intake of breath. One by one, the other lions halted their pacing. They did not attack. They did not circle. Instead, the pressure in the room shifted. The beasts lowered their massive heads, their amber eyes, losing their predatory focus. The largest lion took a step forward, its front legs buckling as it sank to the stone floor. It pressed its forehead against the ground, its body going limp. The others followed, collapsing into a silent, submissive heap. The hunger that had defined the room only seconds before evaporated, leaving behind a stillness so profound it felt heavy. The largest lion shifted its weight, sliding its front legs forward until its chin rested firmly against the hem of the man's garment. The remaining beasts followed, moving with a rhythmic, heavy grace. They did not pace or snarl. They lowered their bodies to the cold stone. Within moments, they formed an unbroken protective ring around the kneeling man, their breathing smoothed into a deep, steady cadence. The chamber, previously a place of imminent violence, became a space of absolute stillness. Outside the heavy stone slab, the guards stood in silence. They leaned against the rough exterior, ears pressed to the rock, waiting for the sounds of a struggle or the final cries. They heard nothing. Inside, the light continued to pour from the ceiling, casting long, shifting shadows that danced across the moss-covered stone. The predators remained anchored to the ground, their eyes half closed, their presence no longer a threat but a physical barrier. The pit had ceased to be a tomb, serving instead as a sanctuary where the laws of the wild were suspended by a power that silenced the hunger. As the hours drifted by, the golden beam began to fade, replaced by deep, bruised violet tones that painted the stone walls in shifting hues. The light caught the moisture on the moss, making the ancient rock glisten. Daniel rose from the floor. His movements were slow, deliberate, and steady. He walked to the edge of the pit, his fingers tracing the cold, rough surface of the stone wall. He paused there, listening to the absolute silence of the chamber, then turned back to his place of prayer. The lions did not stir. They remained anchored to the ground, their massive forms motionless against the floor. Their rhythmic breathing continued, a steady pulse in the dark. The pit was no longer a tomb. It had become a sanctuary, defined by the contrast of the fading light and the calm, resting beasts. The threat of the night had dissolved entirely, leaving behind a testament to the stillness that held the predators in place.